Hello, and welcome back to Mother of the Year. This is Andrea here, host of the show about the perfectly imperfect mom. Maybe this podcast should be for the perfectly imperfect podcaster, because we're in the struggle right at this moment. I actually planned on doing this podcast while my children were in school. I worked a half day today since it's the end of the 2016 year, and since I'm a teacher, I'm about to go on a 2-week break, which I think that's my next podcast episode, because when you're a working mom, there really is no break. But I found out last night, being the perfectly imperfect mom, that my kids didn't have school or daycare today. I didn't know that. That's how perfectly imperfect I am. I guess my husband knew all week. He drops them off, I pick them up, and I didn't know that. So when I saw their bag that they take every Monday and pick up every Friday, I saw it on the table last night. I was like, don't the kids have school tomorrow? And he was like, no. And I was like, well, I have work tomorrow. So I did that emergency call to my mom last night. And if you can tell I'm struggling, it is because I am recording this podcast while holding my almost 8-month-old baby. Say hi, honey. Boop. Yeah, is that perfect or what? You're hired. You can be my co-host. So that's my son. So anywho, I planned on doing this podcast while they were at school, but that's just not going to happen. My daughter's napping, and I'm having one of those joyful moments where my kids aren't napping at the same time. So he's awake, and he wants Mama to hold him, so here we are. But the good news is that this podcast is actually going to be my first podcast with a guest. I was going to try to hide the fact that my interview was pre-recorded, but I'm just going to be real with you since this podcast is all about being real. So we're going to flash back to when I interviewed my best friend. Her name is Star Hansen, and I'm going to do a whole intro of her and all that fun stuff, but I realized if I didn't finish this podcast right now that it wasn't going to go out until after Christmas. Or whatever holiday you celebrate. Happy holidays, right? Gotta be PC. So hopefully you can listen to this podcast while you're baking some last-minute cookies or wrapping some last-minute presents, because if you're listening to this podcast, you're probably a hot mess just like me. This week's been extra fun because not only are we getting ready for the holidays, but it was the last week of the first semester of middle school. Brutal. And I happen to get whatever cold has been flying around, also brutal. So, anywho, I guess I will just throw back to my interview with Star Hansen. And again, happy holidays and enjoy. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and introduce my very first podcast guest. My first podcast guest is someone very special to me. We've known each other since we were 15 and 16. I'm the older woman in our relationship. I've watched her grow up over the last 15 years or so, and I'm so proud of the mother, wife, and woman she has become. Luckily, she had kids before me, so I could learn how to be a mom through watching her. Even though we don't get to have fun like we used to, or talk on the phone once a day like we used to, she's still my very best friend and someone I can count on. True and loyal friends are hard to come by, and I'm so thankful to have her in my life. Without further ado, I would like to welcome Star Hansen. Hi, Star.
Hi, that was so nice.
Surprise. How are you?
I'm good.
Are you nervous?
A little bit.
I'm nervous too. This is so weird. Like I said, we don't really get to talk on the phone anymore, so for us to sit and do an interview is kind of awkward. But that's okay. So basically, I'm having you on the podcast as a woman who I believe kind of has her stuff together. I don't really hear you complain a whole lot or call me with come to Jesus moments as a mom. So I was just kind of interested and wanted to pick your brain a little bit about being a mom.
Oh, the hardest job in the world.
It really is. It's insane. You know, we both have kind of the day to ourselves now. We're going to be going to our annual cookie exchange tonight. What kind of cookies did you make?
I did shortbread cookies because they are the easiest.
Oh, yeah, but
But they're so good.
She lies. She lies. If you go to her Instagram, which is at star.hansen.
Yes.
Is that right? And it's like Hansen Natural Soda, Hansen. So at star.hansen. She lies about her simple cookies because she put edible glitter.
Yeah, well, that's how I had to make them fancy. I had ambitions to do gingerbread cookies.
That's right.
And do, the little faces and the little outfit on them. But that didn't end up happening. So maybe next year.
Yes, we can always think maybe next year. So my cookies that I made, I'm going to be honest, I am kind of a hot mess. And so I knew I wanted to do a simple cookie. And so I remember in the past making peanut butter cookies that were just peanut butter and sugar and something else. So I Googled it and I found 3-ingredient peanut butter cookies. So they were peanut butter, sugar, and 1 egg. And I was like, perfect. So I made them, and that's the picture I posted last night. If you follow me at Mother of the Year podcast, I was sipping some wine making cookies. But what you don't know is those cookies pretty much had to go into the garbage.
Hasn't that happened to you before?
Every year. Every year. I cannot get my stuff together. I don't really know what happened, but they literally tasted like eating a tablespoon of peanut butter, which can be good if that's what you want. But they didn't go flat. They were like... It was just really embarrassing. And I was like, I cannot bring this to our cookie exchange because these are a bunch of women that seem pretty perfect, huh?
Yeah. I mean, I think so.
They're all like beautiful and
their houses are always
decorated.
So nice.
Yes. And we'll make like licorices dipped in chocolate or I don't even know. So I started over from scratch this morning and I still made peanut butter cookies, but we found a recipe that had flour and vanilla and baking soda and all that stuff, so they turned out good. So when you see my peanut butter cookies, you'll know it took 2 tries. But that's just the reality. And our party is in 2.5 hours. Wow, it's scary. And I still haven't gotten our gift exchange gift. You got yours, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you buy it weeks ago?
Actually, yeah.
Okay. Someday I will be more organized. It was so sad yesterday, Star. We text more now than we talk because as a mom, that's just what's easier. And she goes, are we going to exchange gifts tomorrow? And I was like, oh my gosh, it didn't even cross my mind. I feel like such a jerk. But I was so proud of myself that I'd gotten all the gifts for our 12 nieces and nephews and my children, and then I just got my husband something, but I don't know if he's going to like it, so we'll see if he returns it. But I just told her what I usually tell Star. I said, find something on Amazon and I'll have it shipped to your house.
Well, I giggled because we've been exchanging gifts for almost like 20 years.
Yeah, it'll be 20 years soon.
And so I feel like I've been buying gifts for Andrea longer than I've been buying gifts for most of the people in my life besides my immediate family. And so it's second nature to have her on my list. And she forgot about it.
I'm such a jerk.
But honestly, you know what? I don't even care. I even said, do you want to skip it this year? I can keep the gift that I bought for you.
No, because she always gets me something really good that and she will be the first to acknowledge this. I don't spoil myself enough. And so when Star gets me a gift, it's usually something I'm really excited about because I don't buy myself stuff very often. That's just not what I do. I make everybody else a priority. So I want my present. That's what I'm saying. Okay. And you're going to find, I think for your birthday, I got you like a ninja chopper or something.
Yeah, I use it a lot, actually.
Because I'm a gift giver where I want to get somebody exactly what they want. So...
well, that's easy. I'll pick something out.
And she'll send me a link on Amazon, and I'll. That's what Amazon Prime's for. Oh my gosh! Speaking of gifts, I my husband had some Macy's cash. If you buy stuff from Macy's, we just got new bedding. And he texted me yesterday and he's like, hey, we have this $40 in Macy's cash. I know you need a leather jacket, and why don't you look online and see if you can find one? And I was like, awesome. So I went, I found one, and I thought he told me that the coupon code was in his email. So I went into his email and saw my Christmas present.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I felt really bad, but it said...
Is it a good one?
It is, but I didn't ask for it.
Yeah, that's sometimes how
He
it works.
got me, I don't think my husband would ever listen to this podcast, but if you are, hi, and I love you. It said how to set up your Amazon Fire Stick.
Oh, cool.
And I was like, that must be the present, because I knew he got me something and he wouldn't tell me, and Star can tell you, he always tells me what he gets me.
So it's actually pretty good that he hadn't this
Yeah, I know, and then I blew it. So, I'm excited, but I have Apple TV, and I feel like it's like the exact same thing. But we'll see. He's excited. Am I coming across like a brat? Maybe a little bit. But that was one of those moments where I was like, oh, man, because I want to be surprised. So, but he still has a couple more things for me, so we'll see what those surprises are. But anyways, before I get any more off topic, so as I mentioned before, I'm having Star on with me today to kind of tell me what it's like to not be a hot mess, since usually this podcast is about all the things that I struggle with. And so her kids are always seem so much together, and she's recently gone back to work, which I can talk about in a little bit, and she seems to be thriving with that. So I just want to know how it's possible to be that awesome. So before we dive into talking about how to be an awesome mom like Star, first I want to take a moment and have Star tell us a little bit about her family and her situation at home.
Okay, so I have been married to my husband for 8.5 years.
Wow. Congratulations.
I know, that's crazy, right?
Yes.
We got married pretty young, and we actually waited about 4 years before having kids, and traveled and, really enjoyed being married. So I think that was really good as far as our relationship and being ready to start a family and be parents. So we have 2 kids. We have a 4.5-year-old boy and a daughter that is just over 2. And my son is in preschool a couple days a week, and my daughter is home with me primarily. I am home pretty much full time. I do have help with babysitters a couple times a week because I have recently started working again, which is exciting, but it's a whole new adjustment for my family and myself, just balancing it all.
So yeah. I want to say that Star's husband has to love me forever, because when she met him, she had gotten out of a serious relationship and she was going to go out with this pizza delivery guy.
I was really excited about him.
She was really excited to go out with this pizza delivery guy. No offense to pizza delivery guys, but she had met this other guy, and I was like, you know what? Just see where it goes with this guy. And I knew she was not destined to be with a pizza delivery guy, so you're welcome. But anyway, okay, so she's got 2 kids. I've got 2 kids. I work full-time. Would you consider yourself working part-time or not really?
Yeah. I mean, I definitely put in part-time hours, although most of it's after the kids are in bed, but it's still hours.
Yeah. How many hours a week do you think you do work?
Probably 20 or so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Star recently went back to wedding planning. She actually pretty much planned my entire wedding. You can, like I said, you can check out her Instagram to see. So she started a business called Star Hansen Events, and her Instagram shares lots of pictures from the events that she does plan. And there's a bunch of pictures from my wedding on there. Most recently, there's a picture of her and I from after my ceremony. I'm like running around like a chicken with my head cut off. And all of a sudden, I was presented this beautiful pink drink what was it, vodka soda, splash of crayon?
That's what we used to drink.
Of course. So I'll never forget that moment, and we do have that picture up in our house, so you'll have to check that out. But let's stick to the topic of being moms for a second, because that's kind of like our new adventure, because we've been through it all together since we've been best friends since high school. So even though you are a mom that I consider to be pretty darn perfect in my eyes, what do you find your biggest struggle to be?
I think that the biggest struggle, it changes from week to week
I agree.
as they grow. But I think right now I'm struggling with how to discipline my daughter, who is just 6 months younger than your daughter. It's a tough age because I think my daughter's still not talking a ton. And I know she understands everything and she's pretty smart, but it's, when they're not talking, it does make them still seem kind of like a baby.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just really hard to know what's appropriate at that age because, if you're going to quote unquote discipline them, you want to make sure that they're getting it and that you're not just, that you're handling in an age-appropriate way for them. So an example is right now my son is really into building with all types of tools. He's actually not that into Legos specifically, which is really popular with most kids his age, but he does the magnetic blocks and the wooden blocks and all these different kinds of building. And my daughter is just smashing them left and right. And I know that this is common, and I'm sure everybody's rolling their eyes. This is a normal problem with two kids this age, but it has become multiple times a day. It is like the biggest problem in our house right now, and I am struggling with how to handle it.
So what's the last thing you did when she did that?
I remove her from the situation, but she just doesn't seem to care. And I have to point out that she knows what she's doing. I mean, she's doing it maliciously. And she'll oftentimes laugh afterwards. And my poor son, every now and then he will lash out and push her down, and then he gets in trouble, and I don't blame him, I would be mad too. So that's what I'm dealing with right now.
So what do you do in that sense? Do you turn to the internet? Do you turn to a friend? You can't really get advice from me because my kids are younger. Yeah. But what do you do?
I'll talk to my friends that have kids that are older, and then I'll just kind of also go with my instinct. I'll remove her from the situation, and I'll go and talk to my son and get down to his level and let him know that it's okay to feel frustrated. And sometimes he's so sweet and such a good sport about it that I tell him it's okay to be mad at her.
Right.
So that's something I'm dealing with, and hopefully, she's got to be just a month or two away from really being able to get it. And
do you do timeouts or anything?
Not with her yet. We don't do them a ton with my son either, and we don't call them timeouts. We call it quiet time in his room. You need some time to think, and he will be in his room, but we look at it as an opportunity to calm down rather than a timeout. And
right.
I'm sure we will do that with my daughter when we feel like it's appropriate, but I don't think she's quite there, but she's close.
My daughter at school, they call it thinking time.
Yeah.
So we try to call it thinking time, but she puts me on timeout now. She's like, Mama, you're not listening. Go timeout. Like,
so she knows that term.
She does. That's really mean. I totally get it. I mean, we're still kind of I feel like we're in a honeymoon stage with the kids because the baby's only 7 months, almost 8 months now, but she loves having him around. But now that he's old enough to where he's playing with toys, whatever he has, she wants because he has it. So we're already starting the sibling rivalry, even though he is a baby. So it can be tough. So you struggle with discipline, but what do you think is a strength of yours as a mom?
I think that one of the things that I really believe in, and I try really hard to be consistent about, is consistency. I think parenting it's not something that happens overnight. It's a work in progress constantly, and what works in the moment or works right now isn't necessarily going to work next week or next month. So I think I really try to set limits for my kids and make them aware of what is appropriate in our family. And even though sometimes it's more work to make it, make it consistent, I think it allows them to know what I expect or what we expect, and to know that there will be consequences when they don't follow our house rules,
right?
Our
so
family rules.
What's an example of a couple rules that you make sure you're consistent about?
So my daughter loves to be held, and she seems to particularly want to be held when we're eating, when my husband and I are eating. And she will crawl, oftentimes the kids will eat and then we will eat. We do try to sit down as a family, but they usually get started, a couple minutes before us while we're kind of getting everything set out. And so they finish before us and we're still sitting there eating. And my daughter just wants to crawl on our lap every time. And I have made it a rule this time around with my second child, because you learn things,
Mm-hmm.
that I will not hold my kids while I'm eating. I did that with my son, not a ton, but I just decided this time around, we're going to make this our rule. I will hold you when I'm done eating. And she still tries every time, and we never say, okay, this
right.
time we'll
You don't give in once.
I don't give in, and it's amazing that she just keeps trying. And my husband will kind of look at me sometimes with big eyes, like, what should I do? And I say, tell her you're eating. And so she'll stand there. Sometimes she'll cry. Sometimes she'll throw herself on the ground right in between us, crying. I'll say, I'll pick you. I'm almost done. I have a few more bites. I'll hold you when I'm all done. But I think that she ultimately does get it, and she's testing us, and eventually she will hopefully stop.
I totally get what you're saying about being consistent, because I've shared before that my daughter can struggle at preschool for hitting and stuff like that, and she's actually been doing really, really well the last few weeks, but the one problem that they are having with her is that she doesn't want to clean up after herself. And so I kind of take a little bit of blame on that, because when we're at home and she's like a little Tasmanian devil, like completely destroying the house, I don't really want to pick a fight and force her to clean it all up. I figure, okay, you know what, if I just clean it all up, it'll take me 5 minutes and we can move on with the night. But now that I know at school she's throwing a fit whenever she has to clean anything up, that I need to consistently have her pick up after herself. And it is so hard, because when it's the end of the day and it's like, okay, we just have to do dinner time, bath time, bedtime, and there's Legos everywhere or books everywhere, and I know it's going to take her probably 35 minutes to clean up these 10 books or whatever. I just want to say forget it, but I know how important it is. If you're going to take the time to lay that rule down, you have to stick with it, because all you're doing is undoing all that work that you've already done.
Right.
So,
you
totally
give in one time, and you're 10 steps back.
Yeah, exactly. It's tough. Okay, I'm going to pause for a second. Okay, so I did have a podcast all about advice. We all get advice, good advice, bad advice, advice that we advice that we ask for, advice that we didn't ask for. And so I'm kind of curious about your experiences with advice. What's been a good piece of advice that you've gotten?
I think having your kids on a schedule is good advice. And I know that that's not for everybody. And I know some moms are super, super rigid about their schedules. Some, do the best they can. But my husband and I really have tried to keep our kids on a schedule. And I think it's worked really well for us, and that's not to say that we don't have occasional one-off times where they're past their bedtime, especially as my daughter gets older. She's out of that baby phase. She can stay up later and not lose her stuff. And, occasionally she can even go a day without napping, which is really nice if you want to go to an amusement park or something and it's just not feasible to have
those
a nap.
Naps can just totally kill your day.
They can. So we're finally at that stage where we can be a little bit more flexible. But ultimately, they wake up at the same time every day. They both wake up between 6:30 and 7, but they both know that they're not allowed out of their room until 7 a.m.
She has to share. You have to share that really cool clock thing that you have.
It's, so it's a clock that you can program the time on. You plug it into the wall, and it is a kind of a creepy face that is either...
Kids love creepy faces.
It's either a smiling sun or a smiling moon. Yellow or blue, and you program the start time for the moon to turn on, which is 7 p.m. at our house, and for the sunlight to turn on, which is 7 a.m. in our house. So they know that when the moon is on, it's time to be in their room and ideally sleeping, but if they're not sleeping, they still have to be in the room. And as soon as their sun turns on at 7 a.m., then they can wake up and come out of their room and start the day. So they'll usually say, "Mommy, my sunlight is on." And this has been a great tool for time changes because you can you can set it yourself. So you can program it, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and it'll usually take me about a week to get them on the new schedule. But every day I'll just add a little bit on. So that's been great. But yeah, so schedules, nap time is pretty much consistently the same time, and bedtime. Meals and snacks I don't do like on the hour, but I have found the sleep and wake times to consistency is really important.
Do you have friends that you ever feel like judge you for sticking to a schedule?
Not friends so much. I think some family members have kind of given us a hard time for that, but I think that I think it's just, times have changed too, and I think that our parents' generation sometimes sees it as being really rigid, but I think we ultimately all do the best we can, and I think that they do try to respect that that's just how we're doing things.
Yeah, I've definitely felt judged different times because if I could live and die by the schedule, I would, because I know my kids, and the baby's still up in the air because he's a baby, but my daughter, if she is out of her routine, we pay for it. Like, there's been a couple days that she hasn't napped, but that was because she was a butthead and wouldn't go to sleep. So, and then it's just paying for it until bedtime. And then by bedtime, we're in World War III. And then the next day, she's kind of suffering from it too. And she has a bad day at school. And so recently, I was invited to a birthday party. And the birthday party started at 12. And my daughter goes down for a nap at about 12:45, 1 o'clock every day. And so going to a party at 12 doesn't work for me. And so I had to kindly decline the invitation. And I felt like that person was disappointed because, if you don't have like a schedule that you stick to, I guess you just don't get it. Because...
Well, and I think people can also say, they're not the ones who have to deal with it.
Right.
It's easy to spend a whole day of fun, missing naps and having sweet treats late at night, and then they go home to their mommy and daddy who get to deal with it.
Yes.
So.
And, I feel like I have some patience. I've been really struggling with patience lately between teaching middle school and having 2 small children. But my husband in those situations does not handle it well, and it usually results in a fight. So, for example, let's say we're going to a birthday party, and, maybe the kids were able to nap on the way there, so we know they're going to be okay because they did have a little bit of a nap. Well, if it gets close to time to leave, and, I swear, my daughter doesn't even have to start crying. If she as much as, whines, he starts freaking out and being like, we shouldn't have come, or we should have left 10 minutes ago, or this was a mistake, this is why we can't leave the house. And then I start getting defensive because I feel like it was my idea to be there, and then I'm next thing you know, we're fighting. So it's just better for the kids, and it's better for us if we stick to the routine. Plus, moms, nap time can be the best time in the world.
Right, you don't want to lose that.
Oh my gosh, especially when you have a toddler. They sleep for 2 hours, sometimes 3 hours, and it's amazing.
I've never had that.
No? How long did your son nap for?
Oh, he was the 30-minute napper.
Even as a toddler?
Yes. Yes.
I never knew that.
He was a 30-minute napper. My daughter sleeps much better, but she's about an hour and a half, which is wonderful. It's an hour and a half of work time.
I feel like I'm rubbing it in now. The one thing I can brag about, good naps. Except for, my son, he even does 15-minute naps. It's enough to make you lose your mind. So, but if on a good day, which is usually at least one day of the weekend, sometimes they'll nap at the same time for a couple hours.
Oh, it's the best.
There's nothing better. So
And I'm with you. In your previous podcast, you've said, like if the phone rings when both your kids are napping, you are being sent straight to voicemail.
Sorry.
I am sorry.
Sorry, not sorry.
Even you, Andrea.
What? I have never done that. I have never done that to you.
No, it's okay. You just text me and say they're both napping. I say, oh, I get you, girl.
I get you, yeah. P.S. When I left right now, my mom's at the house with both kids, and they were napping at the same time. They were doing that magical thing. I'm not going to lie. It was, 1:30 in the afternoon. My mom had a glass of champagne. She was
Nancy.
sipping on some champs when I left. So, God be with you, Mother. Okay, so we talked about advice that you can appreciate. What's some advice that you choose to ignore?
I think that there's tons.
Yeah.
But I think one that I'm dealing with right now is, the whole potty training of my daughter, which I know you've talked about.
Yep, still haven't started.
Yeah, so, I've got one that's older than yours, obviously, and I've done it. With my son, I did the, bring out the potty when he first turned 2, and, talking with all my mom friends, like, I think he's ready. I think we're going to start doing the undies, and then, okay, regression, let's go back to diapers, and then let's try the naked time, and, I don't think I ever, really pushed it, but, it came to the point where, he ended up, basically potty training himself at 3, and I did put in some effort, in that 2 to 3 year mark, hoping okay, every 5 minutes we're gonna try and all that stuff.
Oh my gosh, who has time for that?
Well, when you only have one, you do. I don't know. I did, at least. I don't know.
And you just stare at each other. It's not like he's gonna look at a magazine or a newspaper.
we would bring books in. Everyone poops. Have you seen that one?
Yes.
So we would look at that on the toilet. But with my daughter, she really does seem like she could be potty trained if I wanted to put the time in. The other day at her little mommy and me preschool that I go to with her, she climbed up to the changing table like a little monkey.
She's a good climber.
She's a crazy climber, and all the moms were like, oh, is she okay? And I was like, oh, no, she's fine. She climbed up, and she laid down, and she said, Mama, she needed a fresh diaper. And I had a mom say, oh, she looks like she's ready to get potty trained. And I'm like, yeah.
You're like, mind your business.
No, thanks. So I think I could potty train her if I really wanted to. But I honestly, no desire.
Well, you have till next September.
Maybe this summer when it's summer. Because it is easier to do it in the summer.
My daughter's going to be 3 in 3 months. I just
told you, my son was 3. It was literally the week he turned 3.
I feel like I'm the one that's stopping it because she's pretty much potty trained at school, which she's there full time.
She wears undies?
They do pull-ups, which I don't really want to do pull-ups at home. So what I've been doing is, my daughter's pretty regular. Hopefully this isn't TMI, but she usually comes home from daycare and within an hour she usually has a poop. It must be because she's comfortable and at home. So then after that poop, I'll put her in undies.
For the rest of the day.
For the rest of the day, which is really only a couple of hours.
Mm-hmm. And she doesn't usually have accidents?
No, not in the last... this has been for the last week. Because when I did undies before, she had a pee-pee accident and a poo-poo accident. And I've already warned my husband that I have 2 weeks off for Christmas. So I have my kids with me the first week, and that's when I want to tackle it head on. And I've told him that he's not allowed to get upset if she has an accident because...
No way. Why would he?
Well, it's not that he would be upset, but it's if someone pees on the carpet, that's annoying.
Yeah,
I'll be annoyed too.
But it's part of the process.
But I feel like I'm going to get that side eye, this was your idea, and I'm going to be like, eventually she can't wear diapers.
No.
I know. You're always going to have my back. But or what if she poops on the carpet?
She poops on the carpet.
Our house is almost all hardwood floor, but we have this really deep shag rug, fake shag rug in our living room, I guess, and I don't want poop to get, like,
I
smashed
don't think
in
she
there.
would,
I don't
though.
think she would either, but... And then there's my mom, who is, like, typical grandma, just loves her kids, and she's like, I don't think she's ready. And I'm like, yes, she is. We are handicapping her by not potty training her. So I'm going to try. I'm sure that'll be a great podcast ahead of us, because I'm nervous. But, you know, I think I'm just going to have to do the whole underwear thing, because we're not really, like, a naked family. So I don't... Weird to see her walking around the house naked. I feel like you are a naked family.
We are totally the naked family.
I mean, I don't know. So we'll see how that goes. But I totally agree. And honestly, like, you telling me, because I do look up to you a lot in your parenting, you telling me you weren't in a rush made me feel better about not being in a rush, because potty training is definitely something people can have an opinion about. So being a mom that has her stuff together means you must be organized. How do you stay organized, especially now that you are a stay-at-home mom, but now you're kind of going back into working a little bit? Like, how do you keep it all organized?
Well, first off, I don't really see myself as having my stuff together. I mean, I guess I manage, but I appreciate you saying that, because maybe it looks that way. But I think the answer isn't a big secret. It's really just my calendar. I have everything in my phone, and it syncs to my computer and my iPad and all that stuff. And I have actually recently started sending my husband, inviting him to a calendar invite, even if it's not something he has to go to, just so he's aware of times that we might have a play date over when he gets home from work. Or
is that just through the iPhone?
Mm-hmm.
You can share?
Well, you invite them as like an attendee, but he knows he doesn't have to come, but that way he's just kind of aware.
Okay.
Or if we have a birthday party, or even if I have to go to a work event, you know, on a weeknight, and he's going to be home with the kids and I'm going to have to leave, I'll invite him to that so he can see where I'm going to have to be that night and what time and whatnot. So that helps.
Does he ever complain about having to be with the kids? Tell me yes.
Yeah, I mean, I think, but I complain too. I mean,
yeah.
I have to say, I mean, my husband's amazing, and I'm not saying that just to brag. He really, truly is an amazing dad, an amazing husband, and I'm
sorry, this podcast is going to have to come to a brief end. No, I'm just kidding. It's fine.
No, I think I expect a lot from him, and I think I get a lot from him, and I mean, I rely a lot on him. I don't know that it's 50-50, but I don't think it should be, because he does work full-time and I don't. So, I mean, it is, you know, I handle the majority of the stuff with the kids, you know, all the scheduling, all their meal prep, all the grocery shopping, all that kind of stuff. But he does do a lot, and he's encouraging me with this new business venture, and he'll watch the kids, he'll put them to bed. He does travel a fair amount for his work, so it kind of goes both ways, but he is quick to encourage me to have an afternoon off and
have a night with the girls.
Yeah, go get my nails done. Or
we tried to do a night away together last month, and it fell apart. But
well, you were a little bit nervous.
I was very nervous. I have a lot. I can't say I have anxiety, because I know people who have, like, they're on medication for anxiety, but I have a hard time staying away from my kids. It's like I literally can't sleep. Like, even last night at 1:30 in the morning, even though my son is sleeping so much better, I just laid there staring at the ceiling. I don't know why, but I was going to do it. Then it just kind of fell apart. But we will.
Well, we're talking about going to Vegas for your birthday.
Yes, I have a big 35th birthday next year, so that's the plan. But then I thought about being away for 3 nights, and I just need to do it.
We just fine.
You know, Star and I, growing up together, we used to be able to go out and have a good time. Now if we have, like, 1.5 glasses of wine, we want to die the next day.
Oh, it's the worst. I swear your body composition changes. And
after having kids.
it's even worse after having my second. I was okay after my first, but like I just can't hang anymore. My goodness.
So maybe someday our body composition will go back to what it used to be. But for now, we'll just keep having our little mom dates. So speaking of fun, I guess, if I could wave my magic wand and you could have a kid-free day, free of guilt, free of paying a babysitter, free of husband drama. If you had a kid-free day, how would you spend it?
I would sleep in, and then I would go take an exercise class because
boring.
No, but you know me, and you know that is
That's why Star is so hot after having 2 kids. She's so hot.
It is truly what recharges me, and I'm not saying that to have people be like, oh, you're one of those girls that, like, what's your favorite thing to do? I love to work out. No,
but also you can't look good without
But I do.
trying.
I actually really do enjoy working out, especially, like, a super fun class like Soul Cycle, or I love doing hot yoga and just sweating it all out. So I would do that, and then I would go to the spa, for sure. And there's a hotel, a really nice hotel near me that has an amazing spa, but they also have a great like outdoor pool. So when I say the spa, it's not necessarily just a spa treatment. It's a whole day by the pool,
which we've done together a couple
times. It's the best.
Having lunch.
Yeah, they bring you trays at your pool chair, and you have lunch, and you have a glass of wine, and it is, especially on a hot day when you get a little bit of sun, it's the best.
Get a little bit of a buzz, jump into the pool.
So good.
Go get a massage.
Maybe I'll do that for my birthday this year again.
Wait, maybe you'll do that for my birthday?
Or both. How about?
It just sounds amazing.
It's so good.
We'll get back to that. We will. Do you ever miss your life before?
I do sometimes. Yeah, I think I was always made to be a mom, though. I love being a mom, and that is not to say that there are not struggles, because there are for sure. But I really, I wouldn't have it any other way. And I actually want another one, and people think I'm crazy, and my husband thinks I'm crazy, there's a good chance it won't happen. But I think.
Prediction, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
I came from a big family, and I think there's something really special about a big family, and I think you put in the hard times, and I was at my sister's earlier today, and my 11-year-old nephews, they're twins, they were mowing the lawn.
Wow.
And my husband and I were wide-eyed, like, oh my gosh, just to think, like, and my brother-in-law was like, yeah, it's all starting to pay off. They cleaned the bathrooms for us.
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh, can you imagine? It seems so far away.
That's like the kind of house that my husband grew up in. The kids did the cooking, the kids did the cleaning, and he, like, promises me that that's how it's going to be. And I look forward to that, because I didn't cook or clean growing up. And when I moved out on my own, I didn't know I would eat, like, box macaroni. I still eat box macaroni and cheese, but that's all I knew how to do. But, yeah, that does sound amazing. And plus, I mean, it's all temporary. Mm-hmm. The struggle, like, there's going to be new challenges. I was talking to my hairdresser earlier today, and she has a teenage daughter who just did the whole crashed her first car and all that stuff. So that's like a different kind of a challenge. So it's never just going to be easy, but everything's temporary, And so even just with my son being a baby, like, I never thought I'd be one of those people that said, oh my gosh, it's going so fast, but it's going so fast. And I see people with babies, and I'm like, oh,
already?
Oh yeah. Like, I'll never have that again. Or, it's weird. Like, every now and then I almost get like a letdown sensation, like from when I was breastfeeding before. And I'm like, wow, like, I'll never do that again. Like, because I know I'm done. Yeah, done. But, there'll always be that yearning, but I think that's good, because, I do have my dark moments where I'm like, I made a huge mistake, but my whole life I knew I wanted kids. And so I feel like that's kind of what helps me, because I think, gosh, for people that get pregnant and aren't sure if that's something they wanted, that must be really hard.
Oh, yeah.
Hopefully they're the ones that get, like, the easy kids or something, but it's tough.
But I think it's neat that you know that you're done, and I think that is a really good feeling to have, that closure of knowing that your family's complete. And
you're not sure if you feel that.
Yeah, I want to feel that.
Yeah.
I wish
it is a really nice feeling.
It would be nice to just be content with 2, because then,
life moves on.
Yeah, we would be kind of...
You could get rid of all that baby crap.
Oh my gosh, our attic. My poor husband is like, can we please?
I know.
No, just in case.
See, I would feel better if my husband would get snipped.
My husband would go.
He's like,
tomorrow.
I have an appointment pending. He said he's ready, but, it's all I just got to make it happen because I have to make it happen. He's not going to call it up and all that stuff. So, but it is a good feeling. I was really happy to get my boy. I think that was kind of the icing on the cake because I've always wanted a son. And then I had a daughter first, and I don't think I ever realized how much I would love having a daughter, especially because she's just like me. So it's like having a little mini me running around, which is a good thing and a bad thing, but I do definitely feel complete. So thank you. I've never actually thought about that before. That is a really good feeling, a nice feeling. And it is, it does make the holidays really fun. And,
oh my gosh. Yeah. You guys are going to have so much fun. Like Christmas Eve.
I can't wait.
This last Christmas Eve, when not so much for my daughter because she was still a baby, but my son was 3.5. And we had the best night, my husband and I. We were, we had I think we were super traditional and cheesy and had Bailey's and coffee or something like that. And we had music on, and we ate the little heads off of the cookies and took a bite out of the carrot that was left for Rudolph.
That's cute.
And we had so much fun. And then to see them in the morning, it was like, this is what parenting is. The whole year is worth it for this moment. It was so awesome.
Yeah, she's already starting to ask to open presents because they're under the tree. We have some that'll... I know. You should see how Star's looking at me right now like, what?
You're crazy.
Santa hasn't brought them yet.
No, that's not what I'm thinking. I'm thinking those would be ripped open in half a day. Well, I would know better than to do that. But
I will say my daughter is very challenging in many ways, but if she is told not to do something, she might not be happy about it, but she usually won't do it.
Oh,
maybe we're not there yet.
Not my kids.
Maybe we're not there yet. No. So, hey, something good about my kids.
There you go.
But yeah, no, we have some that are specifically from Santa, but my husband and I both have the philosophy that, we want the credit for the gifts. We don't want Santa to get all the credit.
I know people like that.
So what we do, which I actually stole from my brother and sister-in-law, is they get some gifts from Santa so that they can do the whole Santa thing, but then they do get gifts from Mom and Dad.
Yeah, that makes sense, though.
So that we can get the credit. Oh, we're special. But, we just started Elf on the Shelf. And
We've had a lot of fun with
already forgotten to move the elf many times. But
Mom
she's
of the
little.
Year.
But she's little. She's little.
So she doesn't notice.
She noticed where he is, but she doesn't notice, wait, he didn't move. There's so much I'm not going to be able to get away with next year. I used the same pen to write the gifts from Santa as from us, the same tag.
Same wrapping paper.
I did not do the same wrapping paper, but everything else was the same. So I realized there's going to be so many things I won't be able to get away with next year. So I'm just going to enjoy it while it's still easy, because next year will be a whole new ball game. But anyways, so before we wrap this up, I do again want to do a small plug for Star, even though she didn't want me to. And if you have any event planning related questions or anything like that, you can check out her Instagram. It's Star Hansen Events. Again, Hansen with an E-N.
No, it's actually star.hansen.
Well, I was saying the name of your Instagram first.
Oh, okay.
So it's Star Hansen Events, which is at star.hansen, Hansen. And you can follow her, say hello. And, of course, if you have any questions or feedback from today's podcast, you can always email me at motheroftheyearpodcast@gmail.com. Please subscribe to this podcast on iTunes, rate it 5 stars, and leave a review. And, Star, before we sign off, I just wanted to say I love you.
Oh, I love you, too.
And thank you so much for being my first guest. And let's do this again in 6 months after our Vegas trip. Ooh, maybe we'll do it on our Vegas trip.
Hey. We should.
All right. So don't forget, moms, the struggle continues next week. Bye for now.
Bye.